You've got China trying to cozy up to Europe now, saying, look, let's, you know, you don't like this Donald Trump guy much, do you? Well, why don't we get together and present this sort of united front or coalition of the maybe like-minded, et cetera. While, I mean, it may be true, but it's a question more of, look, who do the Europeans dislike more, Trump or China? And clearly it is China.
This is a problem. I think you could argue that maybe the US missed a beat here when they could have enlisted the Europe to pretty much go after China in terms of any sort of intellectual property, infringements, etc. And obviously it didn't work out that way, and they've kind of alienated Europe as well to some extent. So, you know, and China's reaction is interesting. China is not going back and saying, look, we're going to, we're actually opening the door. We're going to actually help Europe facilitate investment into China. We're going to be a little bit more open, and you know, it's a bit more. We are, you know, it's about turn. We are the more trading orientated nation is the message they're giving here. So I think, you know, it's probably the right thing to do. I think they are going to try and help Europe and certainly open the door more for European companies.
You think it's serious?
It's hard to say. I think the reality is if the US is closing the door, then obviously they have to try and open other doors. And one way is to open the doors to Europe and other countries. And that means other countries in Asia as well. And that's Japan, Korea, etc., trying to at least make up for some of the shortfall in trade that they're going to face from US. So it's a very difficult situation. Obviously, they need European investment. If Europe turns around, and as you say, if Europe sees China as a bigger enemy or a foe, then obviously that could be a problem for China as well. So I don't think China, I think China will do whatever it can to try and make sure it keeps the doors open to Europe.
So here's the question, let me push back slightly, okay? Does China really need more investment specifically from the Europeans, or are they more actually interested in gaining access to Europe and buying not just supply chain, but of course key technologies that are there? Because one thing that's interesting is, and Eunice has been talking about this, is the likelihood that we see speeded up more work, faster work towards the conclusion of an investment treaty between China and the EU, which would allow for, yes, reciprocal investment access both sides, but more importantly, because Europe has no a parallel or equivalent to CFIUS, it's only nation by nation, right? It seems like it would be easier for China to buy what it needs or wants over there than it is certainly with a much stronger CFIUS in the US.
Arguably, yes, because you're right, there is no common European policy comparable to CFIUS. I think, but the reality is that Europe also feel the same sort of infringements in terms of intellectual property. They're going to be very careful in terms of what they will give to China in that respect. I think they share some of the same concerns as the US. Okay. So I think that will still limit the ability of China to access some of the technology of European companies. That said, you know, I think it's in both areas' interest to come out with some sort of improved trade relationship and investment opportunities on both sides. And I think that's something that they're going to probably work on, given the stance that the US is taking against both Europe and China.
Still watching? Perfect. Click here to watch another great video from CNBC International. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.